Okay, so this is instructions for the Big Kahuna water bottle, clear water bottle projects. I already have a folder open, and I've already made. You're always going to make a Z-Links folder, which is where our image files will go, and an SWB20 folder, which is where the PDFs and the flat file will go for the actual water bottle artwork. So after making the folder, you need to download whatever logo they've given us. And in our case, I just save that to the downloads folder. Oh, it looks like I already have it there. And then we need to look at the request file because most of the information you're going to need is supposed to be in this file. Um, in this case, they want it to be $20. And let's see if there's any special notes. Just the color, orange and black, school mascots, Bearcats. One thing that is important is to check if it's just the logo or if it's uh, logo inside a circle, because we have a preset template where the logos are inside of a circle, and you need to know whether or not to keep the circle or not. If it's in this case there isn't supposed to be a circle, so I'll have to remove the circle on the template. So since we're about to start all of it, I'll go ahead and open both the AI file template for the bottle's art itself, and then also the brochure template, which is an InDesign file. Um, the AI file that you want to use is going to be called SWB20 special template for Big Kahuna with die line. with die line. So you'll open that, and the template has the colors kind of separated so that they're easy to edit. So there's that template, and I'm going to go ahead and open the brochure template so we don't have to worry about that later. The brochure template should be just 2 pages. Whoops. So here's the InDesign file. It'll take just a second to open. So this is just the template. The things you'll need to sometimes change are the price, of course, the images that we're going to link in for the bottles, and then the school ID has 2 spots that have to be changed, and the date usually has to change. And then the other page, usually there's nothing you need to change here, but just be aware of that page being in the file. So on this one, they don't want a circle, so I'm just going to remove everything from the template logo because we're not using any of it. Just make sure there's nothing hidden there. And this is going to be a clear file, or it's going to be printed on clear plastic material. So anything that's white on this screen is actually clear. And later on, we'll get to a step where you have to actually create a white layer for everything that's going to print in color on this clear material, because if they don't make the white layer, it's transparent and you can see through the print job basically, and they don't want that. So we can go ahead and start on the logo. Let me double check. So the price is correct on the form. The end date is Friday, May 20th. So that I don't forget, I'm just gonna go ahead and change that. I find that it's best to take care of all these side things first before you make the art. Like, we need this number to be, we're going to have to make a school ID, so I'm going to do that. Also, we just changed our policy, so this actually needs to say W20C for clear. We used to label it a different way, but they just changed it again, so I'm actually going to save over this template now that I made that change. Make sure there's nothing here about it. No, okay. So I changed the date. I need to add the school ID. So we have a spreadsheet for that I'm going to open. That's under Web Campaign Tracker. That's at least our file name. And we're making a new one. For Big Kahuna, you use the initials BK, and then you just add the next number in the line of numbers. So it'll be 19081. And the school name in this case is Alito ISD. See, they always put something like, now I don't know if they want Alito ISD, Alito ISD PTO, or Alito Bearcats. So I'm going to take a guess and put Alito Bearcats. But sometimes, because they're never clear on this, you just guess, and then you may or may not have to do it all over again. It's an issue. There's a lack of clarity all the time. But we've got Alito Bearcats. I'm going to go ahead and say, now that well, let me add the number. So this is in, Big Kahuna is always in Texas. To my knowledge, they should always be in Texas. And the dates they gave us, April 25th and May 20th. Was it, wait, 25th? Yeah, and May 20. So we're done with this. I just need to copy the number out so I can put it on the other sheet, the brochure. So now this has basically been set up with everything except for the bottle images. So I don't want to save over the old template. So I'm going to go to the folder I made for this school, and inside the Z-Links folder that we made, I'm going to add this file, because there could be, if they do want to make changes, like say they didn't like the name that we put up at the top, it's best to have this InDesign template for the individual school saved so you can come back and edit it later. In the past, they weren't saving these templates, and then the school would come back a month or two or even a year later wanting to make changes or reuse the brochure, and there wasn't a template anymore. So there was no way to, edit it. You had to basically start all over. So it's best to definitely hang on to the InDesign file for changes, because there's a lot of changes that happen. So you definitely don't want to be without that file, or you're going to have to start all over basically. So now we've got the InDesign file, and we can go ahead and start on the actual image file now. But like I said, it's best to get all those little setup things out of the way so that you can just focus on the image file, and then you're done when that image file is done. So this was their logo that they gave us. Now all the logos tend to be low quality. This one's actually quite big, so it's good that it's large like that. Oftentimes you'll get one that's tiny, and we have to vectorize them for it to show up decently on the bottle. So it's been an issue. Now in this case it won't be an issue because it seems like a decent image, but If it wasn't, it would make the process really hard. We're going to go ahead and vectorize it and see what it comes out as. Should be fine on this one. Yeah. So I don't think there's some issues right here. Let me turn off preview and tweak the settings. Usually a 2 on noise and 98% on paths will help. The corners just makes it sharper edges or pointier edges on some areas. I actually don't think I need to mess with that. And then if you turn preview back on, it'll render the changes you just made. Now this is image trace, the tool I'm using. That's how you vectorize. I forgot to tell you because mine's already got it right here. If you don't have it, go to Window and find image trace. There it is. And you'll check mark it, which should make it show up on your workspace, and you'll be able to just position it where you want. It'll probably look like this, and you just click advanced and it'll drop down the rest of the tools. Now that was just the preview. It looks okay. At the size it's going to be, they won't notice this weird jagged edge. But we do want to get rid of this off-white color that it chose in the background. This actually is supposed to be fully white. So we're going to go ahead and click expand, which finishes vectorizing it. And if you click the direct selection tool, you can then see each individual part so you can verify that it's all vector. The thing is, this white isn't supposed to be fully white. So first I'm going to magic wand that color, which selects all of the similar colors in the artwork. Double click it, and you can see it's not fully white. So just type 6 letter F's because that's the hex code for white. And then click OK. Now it's fully white. Now the other thing is we don't want it on the outside. This box, you can see it's appearing when I hover. So click that and just delete it. So now if we shrink this to about the size it needs to be, you'll be able to see around it. Now there's not all that white junk around it. One more thing I usually do to make it show up on the background, which it's going to be placed up here, and all of this is clear around it. So to make it pop off of the clear bottle, highlight the logo with the regular selection tool, hit Control C for copy, and then Control F, which pastes the same logo directly over it. Then hold Shift and hit up about 5 times. So now this logo that we just made, this is the copy. It's hovering above the other one. So click the other one, which is behind it. Use Pathfinder, which, like I said, if you don't have any of these windows up, you go to Window and you find their name here. So there's Pathfinder. You would check mark that, and you also want to check mark Stroke and Align, which is up here, because those are things that you use constantly. So that's why I have them all over here. You're also going to need attributes to be open and appearance. So you may as well just open them all and have them positioned like this. But like I said, where we were at was you click that logo that's behind the other one, and you're going to click Unite, which solidifies all of it. And then we're going to make it white. So click on the color square and do 6 letter F's to make the code for white. And then on stroke, you're going to add that. So you need to make sure this box that's for stroke is clicked, and then click here to apply the same color you had. So you want the stroke to be white, and on the stroke toolbox, you're going to up it to 3-point thickness, and then you're also going to click round cap, round join, and then align stroke to outside, which basically the center two, and then the third option here, and that makes it so that it aligns to the very outside of the artwork. And then one last thing I usually do to prevent the stroke from changing later is go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And now that stroke is actually vector, like it's fully uh, expanded, so you can't change that stroke anymore. You could add another one, but now that's unchangeable. I do that on purpose so that it doesn't accidentally get edited. So then you move, you hold, remember to always hold shift when you're moving because that causes it to always lock into moving, I think, 5 points at a time instead of 1 point at a time. That way, that's why I did it earlier. So now I can easily realign it back with the art without it being slightly off. So now, because you still have the back logo highlighted, click on top, hold shift, click on top of the other logo. Now they're both highlighted. And if I hold shift and move them around, you can see that they're moving together now. Now I could group them by hitting merge. And now they should be locked together. I'll double check. Let's highlight it. Yeah, so there's no separate white logo in the back now. It's just part of the main one. So that's basically what we wanted. Because the reason for doing that is the outer white layer, when they print all this, it helps the logo kind of stand out off the clear bottle. That's really the only reason for it. So I need to check what they wanted. See, once again, because they didn't give us a sure exact name to use, I don't know if they want us to say Alito ISD, but I'll try Alito Bearcats and we'll hope that they accept that. This clarity issue causes a lot of rework, but all you can really do is use what information you're given and see what happens. Otherwise, you would be constantly asking them to clarify. Then how are you going to get any work done then? If you're constantly emailing to ask what every single email is requesting. So we've got the logo. Let's go ahead and add the name Alito Bearcats. Another thing we don't have a consensus on is whether it should be above, below, or both above and below the logo. The way this logo is shaped, I think it should be both below it. One of the reps always requests it to be above and below, like the word Alito and then Bearcats below it, but that doesn't work with a lot of logos. It also takes twice as long because you have to separate them, so separate the words. So I think in this case we're going to put it below. I'm just selecting the font that I want. Basically always default to high school or college style fonts. This is a more modern college style font called NCAA Michigan St. Spartans, or Michigan. I don't know what ST stands for there, but it's Michigan Spartans basically. So I've chose that font. I'm gonna make sure it's sorry, positioned pretty even with this. There are centering or aligning tools, but this logo is not actually aligned to the center of this design, so that's why I'm not using it. It'll just send it, over there. So, whoops. So what I do is click and just make sure the center point on each one is basically, see, that's slightly off. It's just like 1 pixel off. 2. There we go. You can center it at whatever, just make sure it's as close to centered as possible. So we have the font in black. I think in this case it would be best to pull the color from the logo. So you hit the letter I on your keyboard to make the eyedropper show up, and then you click the orange, and then we're going to add a black stroke to this. And you're also going to go ahead and hit Control Shift and the letter O to turn this font into vector art instead of a font. It basically, I'll show you how, like if you don't want to use the hotkey, you can go to Type and then Create Outlines, which is Control Shift and the letter O. But Create Outlines turns the font into vector art instead of a font that you can edit, basically. So now we can no longer change this font. But the reason for outlining it is that you can only use align stroke to outside after it's created into outlines. Like you can't do that on the regular font. The regular font only lets you apply the first two options. I don't know why that is. It has something to do with how the fonts work. But now that we've changed it, we can go ahead and select round cap, round join, and then align stroke to outside. Now if you look, without it being aligned to outside, it's not quite how we need it. Like see how much more you get more of the font fully showing, and you also get more stroke on the border. And when I add the thickness, when I add the thicker size, it matches the logo's bold outer stroke a little bit better. It's actually a little too much, so I'm gonna change it to 1.75 instead of 2. Yeah, that's a little better. Maybe even slightly less. So I'll try 1.6. Yeah, that it's still a little awkward looking to me, but we need it to be bold just to match the logo. That's the only reason I did that. And I also want there to be the white border around this, just like the other has a white border. So we're gonna do what we did before, where you hit Control C, then Control F, and then you hold Shift and move the top one out of the way while still holding Shift. So use the arrow keys while holding Shift. Do not use the mouse. We click that back logo. You're gonna use Unite again. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to mention. You need, because it still has a stroke on it, we need that stroke to be filled in, basically. Um, Now you could select the white background on both the stroke and the fill, but to make it one solid object, I always go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. And once you've done that, this is now one solid thing, like one solid, well, it's vector art, and we're going to make it one solid piece of art by clicking Unite. So now it's all solid, and it has, we basically want to make it white. Now I forgot, we actually needed to make the stroke larger, but it's okay, we can just add it now. So we just added the stroke. We're going to make it 0.2. Now I'm going to need to make the stroke a color for a second, just so I can see it. So it was originally, let's add just about, I'll try 2.5. That's probably enough. And then I'll go ahead and extend it the same as the others. Now make sure it's back to white. And I'm going to go ahead and expand that stroke again, or outline the stroke, and then solidify it by uniting all of it. So when we move, you can hold Shift and move it so that it aligns again perfectly with the top layer. And then you click the top layer and move both back so they're both together. Now I could unite this, merge this, which I think I will. So now it's all one piece. So when I click it now, it should all be, you can see that there's that white outline around it. So now that's part of the art now. And it should, both of these have white outlines now. And that's, like I said, you don't see it here, but that's important when it prints because it's on clear material and you want the art to pop up off of the clear material visually. That's why we just added all that white outline. If we didn't add that, it just doesn't show up as well. Okay, so the next things we need to do are just to get the colors correct on the other part of the artwork. I wanted to double check anything here. It's going to be on. Oh, another thing to bring up is it's going to be online only. So in the brochure, if it's online only, they still want this page of the brochure, but they don't want the order form. So to get rid of that order form in this template, well, make sure you're not in the original template, but you're in the specific one you made for this school. Definitely don't delete the order form on the other template. You're going to click on the page or pages icons here and just find page 2, which is the order form, and you're going to delete it. Make sure you highlight only that and then delete it. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. So now that's correctly set up. I had missed that earlier, so that's why I went back over the order form. So back to the artwork. You're going to double click on the color part of this bar and make sure just the color is highlighted. And then click this gray bar that appeared to go back to the main screen while the color bar is still highlighted. Click the letter I on the keyboard to get the eyedropper, and then click this color. Now, some schools have multiple colors, and you have to decide which one's the primary color to put on the bar and on the artwork, this texture stuff. In this case, they are only black and orange, I believe. So you're going to click on stroke for this box, and you're going to make the stroke black. And then you're going to click 2 for the weight. You want the weight to be 2. And in this case, you don't have to mess with any of these because it's just fine where it's at. So now we've got the box at the correct thickness to match these other lines. And like I said, this school's only black and orange, so just leave all the black lines as they are. But if you were going to do 2 colors, you would need to click only the black that's behind this blue color, and you would then change it. Hang on, there it goes. So it's kind of confusing because this artwork you cannot click with the arrow. Watch what happens if I click it with the arrow and then change it. It changes the whole box. It's some kind of bug or fluke with this. This is older artwork they were using. So you absolutely cannot do it that way. You have to use the magic wand and you have to select just one of these and it will pick them all. Another problem is it's picking part of the logo. So to get rid of that issue, just click the logo invisible or turn the eye off basically and turn it back on. So now it's no longer highlighted and all we have highlighted is just what we need. So we're not going to change this, but I'm showing how to do this because with some schools you would have to. So let's just say their other color was purple and you wanted the back stripes that are black to be purple. You would have just changed it there. So now you can see it's purple. Like I said, we don't have to change that one in this case. And there's only one color for this school besides black, so we're going to select that blue color with the magic wand. Remember, you can't use the arrow in this case because of the way this art is set up. So you select the blue color and then you just change it. Whoops. You can just make sure this box is selected. Hit I for the eyedropper and click this orange, and there you go. So now it's all one cohesive look. Now, I could change that black stripe to white since we have white on the outside of these. Just to make it kind of be more cohesive, but I'm just going to leave it because it's kind of hard when the school only has one main color, because this all is just gonna nothing will stand out. It all looks like one jumble of orange. Um, but that's just how it is. You know, that's how the school is. So, like from a design perspective, it's hard to make it not look bad, but you know that's what they gave us, and we just gotta stick with what they gave us. So, this is basically the final artwork. The next important step is we gotta set it up to print on clear, and we need a white layer behind all of this. It's a special ink that's white that the printer is going to print. So we have to set that up as a special layer that tells the printer to print the white. To do that, you're going to click right here, which selects all of this layer where the artwork is. You're going to hit Control C and then Control F to paste it directly over itself. And there's a little square here that changed in size. So you click this, drag it up, and now you've got a layer that's a direct copy of the other layer. So to make it not confusing, I turn that bottom layer off. So now we're only focusing on this middle layer out of all three of our layers. And this layer does not need to have text, so you can delete that. And we're going to start converting this into our special spot color, which is a layer we have designated as this pink color. I'm going to double click it. Whoops. Let me go to the preferences. So you click, if you're making this swatch, I think the template file should have it for you. So you shouldn't have to do this, but you basically make a layer, and the layer has to be titled white with a capital W. It needs to be, it's going to say process color, but you need to select spot color because this is a special spot color ink. I usually choose magenta to represent the white ink so that anything that's going to be white will stand out as pink on the artwork. That's just so visually you can see it, because obviously you can't see white on a white background. So we make it pink on purpose, so that we can see that layer. And that's it. That's what this special pink color is. It actually represents a white spot color special ink that we use. And it's actually the layers get printed backwards in order. So the white is actually going to get printed first, then the color goes over it on the bottle. And that prevents the color layer from being see-through or transparent on the bottle. That's the whole reason for this special white layer. But while we're on this, we've got to convert all of this to the white ink, basically. So first things first, I select this box, and you're going to go to Object, and then Path, and then Outline Stroke, which outlines the stroke and makes it something we can easily change. And then you select that white spot color, which is represented by the pink fill or swatch. So that's now going to be a white object. Now on this artwork, we need to, it's easiest if you just unite all of it and then click the spot color again. Like uniting it basically makes it one solid object, and that's just easier to edit. Oops, hold on a second. Okay, on this one, because it still has, I think it has a stroke or something applied to it. Before I outline it or unite it, I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. I don't know what happened with that. Something weird's going on there, but it's easy to fix. After outlining it, then we click Unite. So now it's one solid object. And then we click the spot color to solidify that or turn that into white ink. And for the rest of it, you're going to go back to the magic wand, because remember, if you click it with the arrow and try to apply it, it just does the whole thing solid. So you need to use the magic wand, click the black first, and then click the orange. And now it's all of this layer is that's pink is actually white ink. So it should align with the other layer. But one last step to check this and to make it correct is to highlight everything again using this right here and go to your attributes, which if you don't have open, you can go to Window, Attributes. So once you have everything selected right here, you go to Attributes and click Overprint Fill. Make sure it's a check mark, not a minus symbol or anything else. It should be a check mark. So that made this layer be able to show you where the white is going to print behind the color layer. So we can go ahead and turn the color layer back on. And if you click off of everything, you can see anywhere that there's that pink, that's the white. So that white we made around the logo earlier, that's why there's pink there, because that's the white layer showing through with the pink that represents the white. So if we didn't have that as a pink color, you wouldn't be able to tell where your white ink is going to be. And then if you had anything incorrectly placed, you wouldn't see it until it was time to print. So that's the reason the print company recommends using a pink color or magenta color to represent the white. It's just to help you visually see where the white's going to be. So you can toggle the layer on and off, and you can see that's where all the white is going to print, and then the color lays down over that layer. So now we're done with it. We can go ahead and go to File, Save As. I actually recommend, I screwed up because I'm trying, I'm distracted trying to make this training video, but I would have recommended saving the template as the school name before you even start. Like as soon as you open the template, I made a mistake by not doing that. So you don't want to do that. A good reason, to save it right away is because I could have accidentally saved over our template, which we need. So I usually leave the SWB20 and then write the school name. And then the words with die line, because we're going to have to save two files, one with and one without the die line. So this is just an Adobe Illustrator file. We're saving this because if they make changes, we need this file to come back and make the changes to. And these schools frequently make changes, so I would 100% recommend always making the AI file, saving that, then you go save your PDF files, which are the ones we actually print. So we've got the AI file saved. Now you're going to turn off the text that says your name here, which is in the color layer. So on layer 1, our color layer, turn off the text because we want to save this blank, because we have automated print software that's going to print all of the names into this, and that's a whole other step. So we're going to go ahead and save the PDF now with the die line first. So you change the file name to PDF. You can leave the file name like this because it says with die line. So that's correct. And in the settings, you're going to click or check the preset that's PDF X4 2008. So X4 is the preset we want to use. And you don't have to change anything else. You just select that preset and you hit save. So now we just need to save it without the die line. This is for when they go to print it, they need one with and without the die line. And then you click save as again, and you just change the word with to without, and everything should still have the PDF up. And the settings should stay, they'll be what they were on the last file you saved, so that you don't have to change it again now, and you just click save. And we're done with that part. The next thing we need to do is turn the text back on and turn the pink or the white/pink layer off, because we want to copy the artwork as it's going to look into our template. Oops, I did not mean to do that. So you highlight all the art, make sure that the pink layer is turned off, and you hit copy, Control C. And now in Photoshop, we have three files that have to be open to make this whole thing work. Um, it's SWB20 use only for white background, and then SWB20 cropped, and then the final files go into SWB20 mockup scene. So each of these builds this image basically. The first one just allows you to get the image for the bottle. The second one allows you to make a transparent version of this image so that you can then link them in here with this background image. That's the only way I've found to kind of automate the process without having to move it or do anything else. So what we do on the first file, which is SWB20 use only for white background, is we take the art we just copied from over here in Illustrator, and we're going to be placing it in this file. First, you need to delete the art that's in there. So it's usually the second to last layer, or it should be the second to bottom layer on this old template. Um, so when you don't have that art in there, you can see that it's a transparent section inside the bottle. If you hit Control V to paste the file in, go ahead and choose Smart Object. You'll then have the artwork from Illustrator in here. And we just want to show the logo and the sidebar. So there's going to be two files we're saving. The first one should have the logo centered. And then the other one will have the sidebar. But basically you just center the logo. And you can see how it's transparent. That's what we want, because all we're trying to do is give the customer a mock-up of how these translucent bottles are going to look in real life. It's just a really simple mock-up. It's not, nothing high-tech or anything. But we're going to go ahead and click Save, Control-Shift-S, or Save As, basically. Yeah, actually, I should specify, do not click Save, click Save As. I'm using hotkeys to do all this because it's just faster to do it that way, but it would be File and then Save As. And then you're going to find the folder, which is under Big Kahuna, Aledo ISD. Each school should have their own folder inside Big Kahuna. You do not want to be saving files into the Big Kahuna folder. There should be a subfolder for each school. So this school was Aledo ISD. And then in the Z-Links folder we made for them, that's where all of these image files should be placed so you can find them later. And it needs to be saved as a PNG because only PNG allows transparency. Or it's at least the kind of transparent image we need. So I always put FR for front of the bottle. You could write out the word front, but FR is what I use. And then you save it. And since we still have this image open, you want to make sure you have the move tool selected and hold shift and then move your arrow key to the right all the way until you see the sidebar. You can hold shift to make it move faster while you use the arrows. And then we're going to save as again. So file, save as, and then find the folder again. Z-Links is the one that we want inside of our school folder. And then you're going to add the letters SD for side, and you're going to change it to PNG. So it's the same file name except it has SD instead of FR. And it's a PNG, and you click save. Click OK. So now we go over to the SWB20 cropped file, and we're going to drag in the files we just made one at a time. So for FR, the front of the bottle, we drag it over, and it should apply it. You hit enter because it's still in transform mode, so just hit enter to lock it in basically. Now there's a mask, a layer mask on that other file. You drag that up to the new file layer that you just dragged in, and now you've applied the mask to the new file. And you just highlight the old file and hit delete. So now we've made this clear artwork of our bottle that we can put into the mock-up image. So we're going to save this, go to File, Save As, go to Big Kahuna, Alito ISD, Z-Links, and you're going to make sure it's PNG, and add on to the file name the letters FR for front, and just double check that it's a PNG and then save it. And now we're going to do the same thing again with the side image. So drag that over. When it pops up, you hit enter to lock it in. Drag the mask up to the new layer and then delete the old layer. And now we save this layer. There it is. We're going to save this layer also as a PNG and call it SD, or add the letters SD to the file name. Save it and click OK. Now we're done with those, and we go over to mockup scene. You're going to click the layer that's got FR in the name, which is this front layer. You right click on that to bring up a menu, and you go to relink file. You find the folder we just saved our images into, and click on the SWB20 cropped. Click the FR one, and that's going to allow us to link in the image we just made. It's taking a second. There it goes. So you can see that you can see through the bottle. That's the whole reason for all of that, is just so we can show them that the bottles see through. It's hard, on the other, if we just saved the images as they were, they would look white, and the customer wouldn't understand that the bottles see through. That's the whole reason we have to do all this. In the future, it may be done differently, but this is the way we do it currently. There we go. So that's the image. It's done now. We just need to save this image as. So save as, go back to the folder, and in this case we're going to save it as a JPEG now, because we no longer need it to be transparent. The transparency already is sort of inside the image. So just select JPEG, and you can leave the name as mockup scene and save. So now we've got an image. Well, also click OK on that menu. So we have the image done. That's just our mock-up of the bottles, and now we can go ahead and also link those into our brochure. So all you need to do is click the right bottle. It should have a blue box around it, and you hit the Control D keys. So Control and then D. That will bring up a menu, and you just find the folder that we just saved all our images in. Whoops. And you're going to select the front, the SWB cropped FR that we saved. Select that. So now you've linked it in to the brochure, and you're going to do the same for the side image, which is cropped SD. It should have the folder open now, that because we just linked a file in from it, you shouldn't have to locate it again, so it's already up. And you just select cropped SD. Now we're done with all of this. Just kind of double check the information, the date and everything I already put in here, so I know that's correct. The price they wanted was $20. You can see that right here. So it looks like everything's correct. There's no special notes. So we can go ahead and save the template one more time. Make sure it's got the school name and everything. And the last thing we need to do is to export this as a PDF. So you go to File, Export, find the folder, and you can save the PDF for the brochure in the top level of the schools folder. So inside the Alito ISD folder, we're just going to save the file here because that's where the print team is going to look for it. And you just change the school name here from the old one to the current one we're on, which is Alito Bearcats. And then just click save. And there's going to be another dialog box, but it should already be on the X4 template. I think we modified some of this, but since you are using the template file, it should already be correct. So then just click export. And then you just need to wait for the export to render. It looks like it already finished. Yeah, there's a little timer up at the top. So it's already done. And that's basically it. We can check the folder, and the PDF should be there now. And it should be just one page because we removed the order form, since this is going to be an online only school fundraiser. It's loading, but basically we're done. So that's pretty much it for this one. We can go back to the email and make sure we didn't miss anything. For some reason it's loading very slowly. Yeah, that's basically it. So then I would just, in my case, I would send this email back to Brian, who's the representative that sent it to me. Sometimes it'll be a different name, like Larry, but you just attach the brochure, and I usually also attach the mock-up image. If your email doesn't have the ability to see recent files, you can just navigate to the folder where all of this is and attach them that way. So then you just send it to them, and that's it. Trying to think of, like, if there was anything different on, like, the request. Like, sometimes the price needs to be different, or they want a circle around the logo. The template should start with that circle, so in those cases you would not delete it. So you just have to pay attention to all of the request stuff. Sometimes there's special notes, and other times there's not. So you just kind of have to pay a lot of attention. But other than that, that's it. So that is how you make the Big Kahuna personalized water bottle brochure and templates, or mock-up, sorry.